All right, Coach, you want to open us up?
Yeah, obviously disappointed we didn't get the win on Saturday. We had an opportunity there. I think most importantly, proud of the guys, the way they competed and kept competing for 4 quarters against a good football team, the best team in our conference right now. Loved what I was hearing on the sideline, guys staying by each other's side, picking each other up throughout the course of the game there. And then certainly at the end of the ball game, leaving the field, and obviously there's disappointment, but just listening to the guys pick each other up, staying together, that's what we're going to continue to do. So another opportunity, Central Michigan coming in 2-1 in the MAC right now. They've won a couple of one-possession games, obviously this past week against Akron and a couple weeks back against Eastern Michigan. So a team certainly we're familiar with. Looking forward to having a great week of practice here. It's homecoming. And anxious to see our guys respond.
Coach, when you kind of look at the film, obviously the offense, it's 6 points rainy game, but when you kind of analyze it, what did you like and what didn't you like out of the kind of new scheme?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's some opportunities there early in the game. And again, sometimes when you're playing a game like that, at times I would say the weather was challenging, but not the entire game. There was times when it was a little rainier than others and made the ball handling a little bit more challenging, but we had some opportunities there, especially I look at that first field goal drive that we had there. Man, we got ourselves 1st and 10 on the 12-yard line in the first play. Right after that, we had a holding call that put us back at 1st and 20. That just can't happen. That makes it challenging now. When you're sitting there at 1st and 20 being behind the chains. And obviously we had a couple other, that screen pass there. I thought we had a chance there to Tanner on that one, and then obviously on that same drive, guys got to make sure they're doing a good doing a good job getting their depth on routes, trust the rhythm, trust the timing there. But it's just the little things. It's little things like that, and obviously when you're kind of going through what we are right now, some of those get magnified. It becomes more of a it's a game of inches, and we just got to continue to preach that. But we had some opportunity. I know the last drive there, certainly that gets magnified because that's the final drive of the game there, and nobody feels any worse than that young man. But there were other opportunities there throughout the course of the game where it really doesn't just come down to one play. But there's no secrets. It's about execution, and we got to find a way to get the football in the end zone because our defense did a heck of a job the other day holding a very explosive football team. The way they did, obviously they give them credit because once we tied the game up, they had a long drive there where they scored 3, and then we responded with a long drive and put 3 on the board and tied it up, and then you give them credit because they came back and put a touchdown drive together at the end when it mattered the most. So we just got to keep grinding, but we got to find ways to keep building on all the things that Kiael does well, and we're going to find a way to get the ball in the end zone and keep getting better through the passing game.
Yeah, and going off that, I think last week you said, the menu might be small with this kind of mid-season change, but are you guys planning to expand that at all this week in week 2?
Well, when I say he's, obviously in the RPO game, he executes that well. He did a really good job decision-making the other day with tricky ball handling conditions. Did a good job decision-making, knowing when to pull and keep it, knowing when to give. Sometimes you worry that, man, those are those situations where the ball can end up on the ground. So he did a really good job with that. Did a really good job decision-making in the passing game. Now it's just a matter of, we got to keep that menu is something he operates and executes well. Now we just got to keep expanding. What are those throws? What are the ones that he feels most confident with? Who's he got the best relationship with? Whether it's a tight end, whether it's a receiver, whether it's a running back. So we just got to keep working on that. It's again no secrets, but we just got to keep working on that, and we got to trust each other, and those guys got to trust each other.
And I know we've talked about penalties the last couple of weeks. I don't remember off the top of my head what the numbers were. It felt like it was a little bit better this past week. Did you also see some improvement there?
Well, we took 2 of them. I took 2 of them when we were in those 4th down situations and decided to punt and take advantage of the field position. So we had 6. 2 of them were on me for taking those. And then, certainly we don't want to have any. But guys did a good job, especially after halftime. We had 1 penalty there again in the second half, and so guys did a good job with that, of playing hard, knowing when enough's enough, when you're in a one-on-one situation, whatever it may be. So guys did a good job with that.
And kind of alluded to Central Michigan a little bit, but what do you just kind of see matchup-wise with them? Last year you guys played them to like a 17-16 win.
Yeah, and it was a dogfight with them a year ago. Obviously, we know the team, we know their personnel starts, defensively with them. They got a great experienced front. They've had some injuries as well on the defensive side of the ball where they had some change up in their lineup from week in, week out. But they really did a good job this past week of causing a lot of pressure up front. Starts with that because they got an experienced group up front and they got an experienced group in the linebacking group. And then offensively, obviously, this another dual threat quarterback in Jace Bauer, who's been taking the majority of the snaps this year. He can make some plays with his feet, but you can see his confidence level growing as a passer. You can see that week in, week out. So it's going to be another great challenge. Obviously, we had a dogfight with them a year ago. They've done a good job of finding a way to win 2 one-possession games in our conference against Eastern and against Akron, and then they lost one, obviously, on the road there to Buffalo. So we're going to have a great week of practice, great game plan. Obviously, the last 3 weeks, he's had 6 interceptions there in the last 3 weeks. So, if we get an opportunity, we got to take advantage of it. And, we'll just get back to work here and stay the course and keep grinding.
Coach, you've seen homecoming here as a player and a coach. How has this week kind of developed with you as you've gone through the years?
Yeah, every time you hear about homecoming, whether it's just back when I was a player or even now as a coach, typically people circle that game and they're going to make an effort to come back to campus. So it's typically one of your best attended games, if you will, the most support because people come back from all over, and this might be the only game that they come to on the season. So, obviously that part of it is meaningful. I know the times when I was graduated, and if I did make it back for a game, it was typically the homecoming game here. So that in and of itself, and then the week build-up of everything that takes place and everything the university does to make it special all week long. Now we got to do our part. That's if you want it to be a great homecoming week, the football team's got to do their part. So that's a challenge. Obviously, we got to make sure we have a great week.
With all that build-up, do you think there's a different kind of feeling in the locker room leading up to the game? I think every player can probably speak to that on their own, but every time you have an opportunity to play at home in front of people that are supporting you, friends, family, supporters, whatever it may be, that's an exciting opportunity. Anytime you get a chance to take the field, let's face it, you only get 12 guaranteed opportunities, and you train so hard and so long for those 12. So, guys certainly might be a little more to start the game, you come out and you see a nice crowd, that does a lot for you. That's a big deal. So, but at the end of the day, we got to play the game and we got to go out and execute, when the ball's kicked off. Tough game last week, but I know a couple weeks ago you talked about confidence a lot. How are you just building that confidence as the season goes on?
Just trying to keep the guys together, most importantly. Sometimes it gets hard when things don't go the way you want them to in life, and you got some adversity. Number one thing you can do is start to doubt. And so trying to encourage you guys to stay by each other's side, keep believing, just keep putting in the work. That's all you can do, because eventually we're going to break through. But just got to continue to encourage you guys. The only way to attack it, man, is just be there for each other. Be there through thick and thin, and support each other, because everybody's hurting to some degree. And so they're all human beings at the end of the day, and we got to make sure that we're sticking by each other's side.
Given the fact that you're going with Kiael moving forward, what are you looking to see out of him from a progression standpoint?
I think most importantly, let him be himself. He can't feel like he puts any undue pressure on himself to be any kind of a miracle worker. He just got to go be himself. And I say that, obviously he's a dynamic runner. We can all see that. He can take one, for a huge gain at any time throughout the course of the game. Just take care of the ball, have good ball security, know when to go out of bounds, know when to slide, because eventually they add up. And then from a passing game standpoint, again, tricky conditions the other day at times, not the whole game, but he's got to trust the guy's got to go rally and make plays around him as well. He can't do it all by himself. And I think it's just the confidence, continuing to develop his confidence. And, there's certain passing game concepts that Coach Lunch, myself, always add, what are your favorites? What are your favorites? Because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure he's in a position where he can go out and play with confidence. And obviously when you're confident, then your execution has a chance to be a lot better.
Never really, in your coaching tenure, forgive me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Ball State hasn't really ever had a quarterback like Kiael, at least not in a long time.
Yeah.
What are some advantages and perhaps disadvantages that come with that?
sometimes the only real disadvantage is when he feels like he needs to do too much. You got to still stay within the scheme of things. Turnovers, taking care of the football, those things are important. That's the only real disadvantage. Obviously, there's going to be, times when, a passing play, whether the protection breaks down or somebody's not open down the field, then he's going to pull it down and take off. We got to do a great job down the field of staying disciplined in the scramble game and making sure we give them an opportunity to make ourselves available down the field so we can find a throw. So there's sometimes plays like that might be off script, if you will, and not exactly have a rhythm or a timing element to it from a passing game. That's part of it. Those are the things, though, that are also exciting. They give you a chance to get an explosive play. And so just got to keep building, working on, things that he does well and things that he's very confident in, and then guys got to go out and make plays for him.
Yeah. Do you feel like knowing who you're going with at quarterback, like even, you knew at the end of the game Saturday that Kyle's who you're going with this week. Does that make it easier to game plan going forward?
I think we tried to make sure we did a great job for all the guys. You want to have a package available for those guys, but certainly when you can just continue to grow, like, what did he do well in that Toledo game, and continue to grow on that. Maybe we tweak something here or there, but certainly that helps going into it, knowing from the beginning of the week, man, Kyle's taking the majority of the reps here during practice. You still got to keep the next man up, ready to go, and keep them sharp during practice. But certainly it helps when you get started with a week of preparation.
Yeah, there's been, even dating back to last year, and then you look at last week, a lot of one-possession games that just didn't go your way. Last year against Central, it was a one-possession game that did. What do you feel like you guys can do to come out on top in those games?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, that's the goal. You try to practice a lot of situational football. You practice 2-minute drills. 2-minute came up at the end of the game the other day where we had a chance to go down. I had already told the guys on the headset that we're going to go for 2 here when we score. So those are the things you practice all the time. You hope that, through practicing those and repping those week in, week out in practice, that it carries over when you get into a game like that. So it's probably not going to be the last time that it's going to come down to a one-possession game like that. But you just got to go out and execute. Guys got to trust, do their job. It's those are those situations where it's you work on a menu and you work on that menu all the time, and it's not something that's something totally different than what you've repped already in practice. When you get a timeout or the clock is stopped, you might have a couple from your game plan that week. You might have an RPO. You might have something along those lines, but those are those menus and those situations you try to rep tirelessly so guys are confident when you get into it.
Yeah. Obviously, with 5 games left, you guys have to win out to maintain and earn bowl eligibility. Is that something on the program's mind?
I just try to focus on the present, which is just this week. That's all we can do. I can't get ahead of ourselves, but there is a lot of good left on the table for us to accomplish. I firmly believe that. I'm not getting ahead, but there's a lot of good left on the table for us to accomplish. So that's part of the message, and trying to stick by each other's side. That's part of the message, and trying to encourage them to be positive. That's the only way to attack it, and it just takes one. It takes one. We played a heck of a football team on Saturday, and we were right there in it all the way at the end. So it just takes one. That can certainly change the confidence, and that certainly can change the trajectory.
Yeah. And then last question from me, obviously not a fun one, more just like a housekeeping type thing. Been told that Brady is out for the season with surgery. Is he going to take a medical redshirt given the fact that he hasn't played, or do you know?
Yeah, haven't talked about that yet. Just kind of taking the injury piece of it. Certainly the information, it's going to be a challenge, it sounds like, to be able to get back. But haven't gone down that other avenue yet. Haven't had any discussions about that.
And then about Ty, I've heard that he also might miss the rest of the season.
Yeah,
Is that true?
same type of deal. Going to be tough, for him to be able to get back. And so, in Ty's case, he never utilized a redshirt year when he was at Colorado. So, so that's certainly something, I've had discussions with Ty on since it happened back in week number 2. So I've had some conversations with him.
Yeah, that's all I got.
So.
Coach, going off that, you said on the radio last week that redshirting Caden would be on the table. Have you made a decision tonight?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I've had those conversations with him, and I think that's one of those that, is strong consideration right now. I think with where we're at and where he's at and for his development, for his future, I think that's one of those decisions that makes a lot of sense. And so certainly just addressed it with him last week. If there was a situation that happened during the course of the game, he would not go in. So addressed that with him last week, told him we'd talk about it again this week, but certainly that's a strong consideration. I think that's what's best for him, for his development. I think that's what's best for him in terms of his future.
So does that mean someone else, one of the other quarterbacks, be elevated to?
Well, Lane obviously is still in a backup situation right now, and then obviously Colin Blazek has been number 4 most of the year, and then coming off of the injury report last week was Aiden Leffler, and Aiden, he's been with us. This is his 2nd year here, so those guys would, one of those guys would be in that role for sure. So obviously right now would be Lane, and that's kind of where we're at with that.
And then last week I asked you if Coach Lynch was still going to call the plays. Did he call them on Saturday?
Yes.
And will he still moving forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Forgive my ignorance, but about the red shirt deal, is that something that's a mutual decision, or is it on the player? Is it on the coach?
No, obviously I never anytime I ever meet with a family in recruiting, I tell every one of them the same thing, and I tell them all that whatever's best for their future, because some guys are physically ready to go, some are not. Some are mentally ready to go, some are not. And so we get into it, and obviously Caden did a lot of good things. That just like everything, it ebbs and flows. Obviously, the way he started out in the Kentucky game, the second half certainly looked super calm and did a lot of nice things. And I look back and said, man, should he have started against Georgia? But if you look at the second quarter, it didn't have anything to do with decision making. You had some balls that bounced up in the air, and they made some plays on them. And you're facing the #1 team in the country, and so came back, handled himself extremely well against Indiana State. And then obviously came back against Georgia Southern, good football team. And so after that, just, kind of had been thinking, and certainly I had a conversation with him. But I tell every parent, every family in recruiting that I will never do something selfishly for me. It would always be what's best for the young man, what's best for his future, what's best for his development. I just simply being tugged that I feel like that is what is best for that young man, for his future, for his development, because he can get back in there, he would battle, he would do all that stuff. But I think that's ultimately what's best for him, for his future and for his development.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure who made the final decision, but that makes sense.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Stand by for players. Appreciate Keionté stepping in on short notice.
How y'all doing?
Open for questions. Go ahead, guys.
And Keionté, I mean, it seems like over the last 3 weeks or so, the defense has kind of progressively found its footing after some injuries. How confident is that unit right now?
Defense real confident. We're just trying to find ways to create turnovers to help the team out the best way we can.
From your perspective, what is giving that side of the ball more success as it's going on?
I think communication plays a big part in it. We're a tight-knit group, and everybody is familiar with the defense. We've been here for a long time. Even the guys that just got here in the summer or the spring, they took it upon themselves to really learn the defense so they can come and communicate at a high level just like the rest of us.
Was there any also changes to any scheme or play calling? Did you guys go more man or zone to also give you guys help?
Not really. Just play our game, eliminate explosive plays, and try to force turnovers.
So against Central Michigan, they're a team that has turned the ball over quite a bit. What do you just see from their offense that maybe you guys can take advantage of?
Their ball carriers carry the ball loose, and they got some running quarterbacks that also carry the ball loose, so we're going to try to take advantage of that.
Stage of homecoming, what does that mean for you?
Homecoming for me, I'm a Ball State student. Homecoming is a big event for us. I'm going to try to make sure that the fans and alumni, they had a good show to come to, and then continue with the rest of the day and with the rest of the homecoming activities.
And then you've been in this role for 6 weeks now. Are you kind of fully comfortable with your position?
Yeah, the most comfortable that you can be. You at home, sitting in your living room. I don't get no more comfortable than that. So, yeah, feel good.
Who's really helped you kind of get into that comfortable situation through the process?
My defense as a whole, but really my linebacker group, like Clayton Stills and all the meetings helping, 40, Jackson Weagle, Joey Stemmer, all those guys that have been in that room for a couple of years, they still helping me get through some of those growing pains, being a new start Mike linebacker.
And then obviously coming off a tough one against Toledo, what would just a win do for the locker room?
The win will just liven everybody up. Spirit's not down, but you can tell it's a different way people walk around when you win and lose, and then we need a win real bad around here so we can get some smiles back on people's faces.
guys played a really good Toledo team pretty well, especially the defense. What are some things that the defense is taking away from that performance last week?
We got to keep going. Just because we played a good offense like Toledo, we probably won't play a good offense like them for the rest of the season. We just got to keep going, keep stacking off that game.
What are some things, like, in particular that you think that you guys took away, that you can build on?
Well, even though we did give up a few explosive plays, but throughout that game, like, we played 50 minutes of good defense, and then the last 10, we started to let stuff get out our hand. But just trying to eliminate explosive plays, really, especially when you're playing against high-scoring offenses like that.
Yeah. Last week was a one-possession game. You guys ran a lot of them last year. I mean, even Central last year was a one-possession game that you guys ended up winning. But what do you guys think that the defense can do in particular to come out ahead in those one-possession games?
Forcing turnovers, giving the ball back to our offense, even scoring if we can, like, that'll help out tremendously.
What's the mentality like for the defense? I mean, is that the mentality in, like, the 2-minute offense when you're at the end of a game and, Toledo last week went down the field and I think it was 3 minutes and scored? Is the mentality of the defense in situations like that to force turnovers?
I mean, every time we step on the field, it's do or die, so we feel like every play, like, if you can make that play so we can get the ball back to our offense, but I'll say that wouldn't really be, like, in the situation of football, that would be a point of emphasis. No, we just want to make sure that we keeping points down in those situations.
You guys have to win out to earn bowl eligibility moving forward. Is that something that's on your guys' mind right now?
I mean, it probably is, circling around the locker room, like, people worrying about it. Some of the older guys worrying about, like, am I going to go bowling my last year? This the only opportunity we might have at a championship. But I feel like if we take everything one at a time, like one game at a time, that'll all come.
Do you think, like, knowing that is kind of added motivation for these last 5 games of the year?
Yeah, it's like a fire because, like, last week we win that game. It's like now if you still have a room to lose one, so to say, if that's how you're looking at it. But now we know got to win now. Every week is a championship game from here on out, and it's been like that every game this season. But now it's really championship or nothing.
Yeah. Did you guys play, just out of curiosity, when you were in high school, did you play, like, in the state tournament, like sectionals, where it's you win in advance, and if you lose, you go home?
We had I'm from Tennessee. We had, like, a playoff bracket just like y'all do. If you're from Indiana, farthest I made it in football, semifinal. That's right before the state championship game. So I ain't experienced a championship until my freshman year here with the MAC championship and then the Arizona Bowl. So.
But you kind of know what it feels like to be playing in situations where essentially any game could be your last. You want to look at it that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you feel like that having that experience beforehand might help in the situation you guys find yourself in now?
I mean, you can look at it like that way, I guess, but it's more of like in that situation, it's win or go home and then you're done playing football. Like, so if I'm a senior year in high school and I'm in the playoffs and we lose in the first round, like, I'm done and before Thanksgiving break, but that's not the case. Like, even if we lose this next game, we still got games coming up after that. And if we're not bowl eligible, like, the goal is to win games. Right. At the end of the day, and if we only win one more game before the season over, I'll be happy with that because we were winning, we won. We did what we were supposed to for that week, and we will want to know that week. So.
For sure, that makes sense.
Keionté, going off something he asked, like, this past week was the first game that you guys played, I think, where it was like a really close game most of the way down to the wire, kind of. As a defense, you kind of said you guys let up in the last 10 minutes, but do you guys feel like you can take away something from that to maybe excel in that kind of moment moving forward?
Yeah, we most definitely, because those last little 10 minutes, we let explosive runs and explosive pass get them in the, like, scoring position, and we can't have that happen later on in the game, especially in those crucial situations when it's still one possession.
Is there something you identified that allowed those explosive plays to happen that late in the game?
Watching film, I mean, like, after it's all said and done, yeah, you can, like, we could have did this better, but, like, at the time, I mean, everybody got to do their 111. Can't do nobody else's job but yours. And if that ain't happening at a time, then those explosive plays will most definitely happen, regardless of who you play.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. Have a good afternoon. Thank you, Kiael. Questions for Kiael Kelly?
What's up, Kyle?
How you doing?
Obviously, your first start last week. What do you think you really learned from that start?
Just, it's a 4-quarter game. You gotta
be at your best at all times in the game. You know, it can change whenever. You know, at one point it might be looking good, another point you might be down. So, you know, just keeping your head high, staying positive throughout all 4 quarters.
And then kind of the solidified starter here, going to homecoming. How does that feel for you to start your second game on homecoming crowd?
You know, it's great. Homecoming games, since I've been here, is like one of the more to remember. You know, Toledo, my freshman year, last year against UConn. So the crowd is always great. You know, we always trying to put on a good show for the crowd. You know, we want to win, and that's really the biggest goal for the team. That's a big deal, just winning on homecoming.
And then only 16 passes on Saturday. Would you prefer to see more passes, or do you more prefer your ability to run?
I would say I don't have a preference. You know, I'm good with whatever the game plan is. Yeah, it was only 16 passes, but in the offense that we're in, a lot of those handoffs could have been passes as well. So I could have had maybe 10 more passes than what I had before. So I would just say really just whatever the coaches prefer.
And I remember at the beginning of the season, you know, this team had a big kind of hunger focus. Do you still think there's that big focus going into this game here?
Yeah, for sure. No one likes losing, and you know, it's been tough around here. We clearly we want to win. We've been fighting hard to win, but everybody's still hungry to get that winning feeling back. You know, ever since we got the bell back from Indiana State, we haven't put out a W, but that locker room feeling, we all chasing that. So.
Coach Neu has kind of praised your ability in RPOs, like your decision making. Can you kind of walk me through like what your headspace is in an RPO that allows you to make those decisions?
Yeah, so I take it one step at a time. So it's multiple steps into reading it. So pre-snap, you got to see like what the defense is in. If you like it, good run box. If not, you got to throw it. Now post-snap, once I get the snap, I'm reading whatever my first read is. If he takes me, handed to Coop, or takes Coop, I'm taking it, and then after that, I'm just reading the rest of the plays, basically my instincts. I can either pass it out or take the run. You know, really, the decisions are just kind of it's easy because you kind of develop it like throughout the game. You know, on the certain run plays, me carrying out a fake that just sets up like. Just makes it easier for when it's a pull read to see it, you know. Yeah.
Has reading defenses, particularly in the RPO, has that always been easy for you?
It comes with time, you know. Reading defenses, it definitely comes with the experience and playing. I would say my time on scout team these past 2 years, being, you know, that threat for the defense when we did play a running quarterback, just seeing how people play it or how, you know, the linebackers flow after I pull it and just getting that situational awareness was good.
Yeah. I know that you said, like, in the beginning of the season you were preparing every week like you were going to be the starter. But now that you kind of know going into Central Michigan that you're the starter, and you did last week too against Toledo, has that made game planning and preparation a little easier for you?
I would say game planning and preparing is pretty much sort of the same. You know, I keep the same process, but obviously it's a lot more on my plate now. So, you know, I had to put in more overtime, I would say. You know, like before bed and different things like that.
So is it a little more stressful, or are you more comfortable with that increased workload?
Yeah, I wouldn't say not stressful, because, you know, I can take it on, but it's I would say it's more of a challenge than what I was doing before, but nothing I couldn't handle.
For sure. What do you think that, I guess, you can do, or what are you looking to do to further expand your game, I guess, now that you know that you're in this spot for the rest of the year?
Just trying to stay locked in and stay focused, like throughout the games, and being being a more vocal leader for the guys. You know, in the position I'm in now, you know, I got to take over the ship, and you know, it's not going to be easy winning all 5 of these games, but you know, I just got to do whatever it takes to lead us to those 5 dubs.
Coach Neu said, kind of as he expands the menu for you in the offense, he, you know, obviously wants to work in more plays with guys that you're most comfortable with. Who are some targets, whether they're running backs, tight ends, or wide receivers, that you feel like you have the best relationships with?
I'll say Keon Magwood, Ahmad Edwards, Malcolm Gilly, Coop, Rico, Vaughn. Yeah, I'll say those guys. Really, Vaughn, Rico, and Keon I live with, so we pretty much the closest.
For sure. And then I guess we talked about it post-game on Saturday, like your feelings when you got the news. Have you taken any time, I guess, to reflect, like after you now have your first start under your belt, have you taken any time to kind of reflect on that, or is it kind of just the grind?
Yeah, you know, after the game, you kind of sit down and reflect on it, but I'm sure it's not the same as like your first win, you know, so it's kind of bittersweet, but I'll be happy to cherish the moment once we win.
I know you had a lot of family and friends at the game. What were the conversations and the moments like, I guess, seeing them after the game?
Conversations, they were just all proud of me, you know, happy. I think it's cool for them to see me, you know, playing at this level, seeing me like grow up from what I became to where I'm at now, and they just letting me know that they were proud of me, they love me, you know, no matter what goes on the field, that they're always by my side and stuff like that.
And I guess last thing for me, obviously with 5 games left, you guys find yourself in a situation where you have to win out if you want to earn bowl eligibility. Is that something on your mind as the offense's leader, I guess?
Right, definitely on my mind. You know, our back against the wall, and we got to fight. Shoot, all I know is fighting, so we gotta, you know, we can't quit now. Especially, like you said, there's 5 games left. We need 5 wins, so you know, it's put up or shut up. Really, how you want to be remembered.
So you feel like it's more motivation for you?
Yes, sir, for sure.
Kyle, Coach Neu also kind of said that, you know, he's asking you what kind of plays you're most comfortable with in addition to personnel. Like, you know, whether it's him or Coach Lynch, like, what are you telling them that you like to run specifically in throwing the ball?
You know, I like, as far as in the pass game stuff, I like, you know, the plays where I could have like a full progression, you know. Other than that, really, I tell them, you know, I'm comfortable with anything, and it's really more how we feel is what's going to work in the game. You know, like, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I'm just telling them mostly the pure progression stuff.
And you also, I mean, it seems like several times when you've gotten in, even before last game, they'll roll you out right. Is that something that you're comfortable with? Like, kind of just, I think one of the bigger plays you hit this last game was kind of that levels thing where you had a guy deeper crossing, a guy mid crossing.
Yeah.
Do you like that kind of play too?
Yeah, you know, that play is an allusion to the run. So when we're having a lot of success running the ball, giving them the play fake, and then me rolling, it usually opens up something. And yeah, I like that play as well because you have options. Like you said, there's different levels, and if those are covered, then most likely I have the option to run. So yeah, those plays, I like those.
And then just last one for me. I think you said on Saturday, you know, there was a couple throws you were one back, right? You might have left, like, was it Keon short on one wheel route before that last play? Do you think throws like that, when you look back on them, is it just a miss, or is that maybe the type of play that as you get more comfortable and confident in kind of the starting role that you can kind of just like not think about it and just let it fly?
100% misses on me, and I know that they're crucial, and I know that I can also make the throws. So I would say the most disappointing thing about it is knowing that I left that play out there for the team, and really not knowing what the outcome could have been if I did make the throw. But I know for sure I can make the throws, and I'm confident in making any of the throws on the football field.
I guess I just have one more. We talked a lot about like one possession games today, and saw a lot of those last year. Saw one last week. How comfortable are you in those situations?
Real comfortable. I don't want to say it's just another drive because it's obviously bigger than that. But I think staying as level-headed and keeping the guys in the right mindset is the biggest way to help in those times. But try not to make the moment too big, bigger than what it really is. At the end of the day, we just playing football. That drive is nothing different than the previous drives before that. We just time running down.
Is there anything in particular that you or the rest of the offense does like to get in that headspace? Because I'm sure that can be hard to put in that perspective.
Yeah, sure. I tell the boys, as far as getting the offense ready, I just try to keep them, letting them know what the situation we're in, possible situations after this play, what will happen. Like say if this ball's in bounds, then just letting them know where we're gonna be at. Get your eyes to the sideline, stuff like that. But as far as me staying calm, I just keep telling myself this is what I do. Just stay calm. If I'm not calm, then I can't lead the rest of these people who is expecting me to, be at the top of my game.
You seem like a calm individual in general, so
Yeah.
I'm sure it's easier for you.
Yes, sir. I try to stay calm through all the highs and the lows.
Yeah. That's all I got, man.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Kyle.
Appreciate
Another
it.
thing too, Tampa, Florida, not Tallahassee.
I'm sorry.
Nah, you good.
I'll fix it.
You good.